Here we go.
and bring
All
up
right.
YouTube.
All right. Hopefully this comes up the way. Let's see. Hopefully it is working. This is the first time me doing it. There we go. So everything is hello everybody. This is the first Sunday Scratch Build live chat, and we got
All
Chuck and
right.
Dave, and we got Harry from Home Racing World, and we are basically going to talk about brass and wire chassis scratch built cars, and this is what we want people to start really getting into, and show how much gratifying it is to actually build one of these and how it looks when it's going down the track. That was the first experience I got when I ran into Harry's stinker chassis build, and I did a 67 GTO from a Carrera body and made it a dirt racer. And when I finished that car, that was a really epiphany. Like, wow, hey, if I could build this, I could build more. So it becomes
Right.
a very addicting thing. So let's go ahead, Dave. You take over and let's get
Yeah.
started with all.
Go for it,
Well, you
Dave.
want me to take over? I'm still trying to figure out why I'm hearing an echo in.
Uh,
Do you have an echo? Okay. From your end or our end?
I I'm not sure. I'm going to bring this back up over here.
Because there's no
I'm going to
echo on
mute.
the other end, I don't think, because people would have been saying it. So I just put the chat on. But if anybody says anything, we'll hear it. So we'll also want to make sure everybody asks questions. So if you ask a question, put question, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. So okay,
right.
so if anybody has any problems hearing us or anything like that, let us know. No echo, the finger says so. I think we're okay.
Cool.
All right. So yeah, Dave, you took off your sound. Now we can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Mm. Yeah, your sound is out. So I don't know if I think whatever you did is what.
Is that better?
Yeah, there you go. Now we can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm okay. I was so far behind and it was lagging so bad that I couldn't even hear you guys.
No problem.
Okay, so where are we? Because I lost everybody.
Well, I made sure everybody in chat they have questions to put question on there. Anything on scratch building. So I guess basically we should start out with your basic stuff you should have. I guess for scratch building, just some basic tools. We can
I'm
go
down
over
with
that.
that. Nobody wants to look at me, so let me put you down here. Boy, the delay is terrible.
Everybody can see you good though. You're doing all right, so don't worry about the play. Just
Can you see my bench right now? Or are you still looking at me?
yes, yeah, no, your bench is there. We see everything.
All right. So you want to see what we want to? This is what you want to do. You want to show them our basic tools and
Yeah,
whatnot.
something that I could get them in the door, so this way they don't have to worry about buying like excessive amount of stuff if you don't really.
Well, in my opinion, this is the most important piece right here. I don't know if Harry, do you agree?
What is it? I have a little bit of a lag here. Hold on.
It's our board. Our
Oh, yes.
you
Right.
got to have one of these, the jeweler's board. So I would
Very good.
say
Very good investment.
yes, and they're not expensive at all. They're super cheap.
Right.
Available at SCC. Uh, you get the board and the pins all from them. And if you want to build a chassis and you want to build it straight, right there. I would say that is probably your number one, should be your first purchase, other than a soldering iron.
Yeah, you're gonna need a board. Yes, there are brands like Precision Slot Cars, PCS, that with the Corian and other materials that have been milled down and everything else, and some of those are well over $100 and something dollars, and I have one, but I use these for under $15. So when you're just starting out, if you're on a budget, you want to learn to scratch build, you don't want to invest a whole bunch of money. These little honeycomb boards are, yeah, they're honey.
Yep, that's the ticket right there. I'm sure that George agrees. Um, Without this, you can't do it. I mean, you can, but this makes it life easy, and it's if I remember right, it's about, I don't even think it's $30 to buy
I
the board and the pins.
I have it right
Yeah.
there on the my iPad, so it's 18.99.
Oh yeah, there
Whatever
you
you
go.
guys
That's
see,
it.
I'll put it on there. That's a basic, chassis jig board, and then they sell the pins too. So the pins
Perfect, George. That's
right
it.
to there. So there are your pins. Those are the pins you use to hold the pieces together while you solder. So anything you guys come up with parts, I'll try and throw up there to help out so people can see it.
That's
All
perfect.
right. Cool.
And
Yeah, that's great.
once we dive deeper into this, we'll show you how to operate this thing. It's not again, it's not rocket science. I sort of mentioned it the other day that there's no mystery or secret magic involved in doing this. It's just pretty simple
Yep.
common sense things.
Yep. Very simple. Very simple. I Yeah. You can custom make your own motor bracket. And Dave does. He does that a lot.
I
I'm
do.
I'm lazy. Um, I use the pre-made brackets like the ones that we helped design for the It's Like Our Corner, the motor bracket here, and but JK also makes um, a bracket that's for Sidewinder, angle winder. This one, and it's a pretty popular bracket. JK, pretty well-known brand, and basically, you can use this as a standalone bracket, and you can just cut this tab off if you wanted, if you were going to do inline, and and it works pretty good too, especially with the oblong holes there, making sure the motor screw holes. So that's another option too, if you don't want to measure and drill and custom make your own bracket. I cheat. I'm lazy. I admit it.
Yeah, I don't even think it's cheating or lazy, Harry. I just think that
Yeah.
it's convenient. It,
Yeah.
it takes it takes one more little element out for the beginner, especially to get going on building a car.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's and sometimes we get down here doing uh, the slot car build marathons with some of these guys, and uh, you know it it just speeds up the process. Grab a
Right.
bracket. You know, get your motor, get some motor screws, put it in here, and get to building. But that's yeah.
What
Oh,
do you
hello,
think,
fellow.
George?
How you doing? Yeah.
Right there, I have the motor bracket up on the screen.
Oh,
You guys know
yeah.
what that Showdown bracket right there is actually a little bit of an improvement because remember, Harry, we had to cut the bottom of it out so it sits flush with the motor and
Right. The old bracket was by JK. It was the JKD3, and it was designed mostly for a lot of um, the more retro slot car builds using the bottom chassis plate and stuff, the old commercial cars, and it would not set flush, you know, if you put a standard motor in it. It was made for more the 16D, so we would we would shave the bottom of it off here to make it flush, so that when we built everything was flush and parallel and aligned. So we also made sure it was 1 inch. All the holes were the right size, and we took that bottom lip off of there, and now we have it to where when you put in a standard motor like this or S-cam motor, that it'll sit flush on your board.
Yeah, that was a big improvement having those flanges taken off the bottom.
Right. Is knowing what parts will fit together. I'm talking 1/32 scale. Um, what what like parts? Um, Most of your CB design wheels and slotted wheels are all 3/32 bore. So you would order 3/32 axles by Slotted, Slotting Plus, uh, a slotted wheel, a CB design wheel, a staff's wheel, aluminum wheels, and they're all 3/32 bore, so they're going to fit. Um, they're going to work. The bushing, I think George can put it up there. For example, the JK number 5574 is 3/32 bore. So that's this little bushing here, and that's what fits the axle.
Gene, it's pretty. If you want to like really narrow it down and simplify it a
Gears,
little bit,
pinions, axles, yeah.
if if you stick with the slotted stuff, slotted
Right,
axles, slotted gears, slotted wheels,
That's
that's
it.
all 3/32 stuff. It's all 132 scale. You don't have to worry about it.
right.
Basically, parts. Is what you're
Yeah, this is like for a lot of our inline builds. Here's your standard crown by Slotted right here. So you could start with this crown. So write that down. Here you go. So a gear, any gear, 28 tooth, 27 tooth, 26 tooth, like Dave just said. You just stick with the Slotted brand, and that'll work. That the gear will fit the slotted axles.
Right,
Um,
and that's what we use. That's what we use 99% of the time anyway.
yes,
Um,
always.
you know, the cars that we all use, like here's this one I just finished. It's all slotted gears. 927, slotted axles. This is all slotted parts. So,
Right.
um, yeah, it's the easiest way. So that way there's no confusion. You don't have to worry about remembering. Oh God, which companies, whatever did I use? Slot it. Boom. It's done.
Right.
Bulletproof.
And then he can bring it up. But here's these are slotted pinions. These are 9 tooth, 9, 10 or 8 for inline, but slotted. Just stick with that brand, and that's what most of our builds are. So, like he said, here's your 9 tooth pinion. It'll fit on the motor. Then 27 tooth crown gear, and then those bushings, and it'll all go together. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Yeah,
Yep,
anytime.
totally. You're
You
welcome,
you
Gene.
can always message us and email us,
Yep.
for whatever you want. But um, yeah, that's the just stick like he said. It's so simple. Starting out, just stick with slotted, and you can't go wrong.
So Jeff G has a question. It says, when you use the Sidewinder bracket, is it more difficult to line up the axles versus the inline bracket?
Yeah, it is.
It's all a feel thing and an eyeball thing. You can't do
Yeah,
it.
it's harder to do the sidewinder, the angle winder cars. But again, once you get it pinned out on your board, you have to get everything lined up before you solder anything. You have to have everything lined up because very little adjustment or movement in anything once you do that. But that's why
Right.
I don't build a lot of sidewinder cars. We don't really, it's not much of an advantage to what we're doing to build a car that way. So we generally
Not
don't.
not
But
for the showdown. No, for the for,
right,
for the showdown. I mean, you can, but the inline cars, the sportsman, the oval cars, we just stick to the inline, and the reason that we do for them is because of the simplicity of the design. And of course, there is the argument, well, the sidewinders, angle winders, they're more efficient. Yes, yes, yes. We all know that, and I just don't care. I keep it in line to keep it simple so
keep
that
it
those
simple.
that are just starting out can find it easier, to build a chassis.
and
And
and that's what this is all about. What we're doing right now is basically introducing people to this. So we don't want to start them out making the hardest thing there is. Let's start you out making a sidewinder. We show you
right,
how to make the inline cars because if you can build a simple ladder style, what Harry calls a stinker chassis, with these simple products that you can buy from SCC, you can pretty much motorize any car body that you can get your hands on and have a slot car.
right,
And that's what we want to do. We want to keep it simple for everybody, especially for these new guys. If you already know how to set up that angle winder or sidewinder, then what we're telling you today is of no use to you. You already know how to do it.
Another question from Stockard Day. I think we kind of answered it. Is there an advantage of a Sidewinder motor?
The only advantage I would say is maybe space, depending on what kind of car you're building. You know, sometimes maybe
well, space,
you're
yep,
some kind of like a Can-Am car or whatever, that kind of style. Maybe an inline won't work, so the sidewinder is better because the motor is back farther and out of the way. Otherwise, I don't really see any advantage.
It,
More room for
it
interior.
sometimes with the power efficiency of the Sidewinder setup, the or the Sidewinder setup is like the torque of the motor, making sure that you have it set up in the correct direction. Whenever you accelerate, it kind of wants to bring the front down, right? Like
Yeah.
the torque of the motor and everything. But if you mount it backwards, you're way backwards, then it does the opposite. But it just depends. With angle winder setups, sidewinders, or and setups like that, the power efficiency, is there, but there also then becomes some restrictions. For example, when you set up a car like that, just even with the Sidewinder, same thing, but you have to make sure that your spur gear isn't going to be any taller than your wheel and tire combo.
Right.
Then you have a Revell monogram NASCAR.
Scraping.
Yeah, after 3 laps, the tires scrub off and the spur gear is dragging the ground. So
Right.
you have to be careful. You have to be careful of those sort of setups. So you have to use the right combinations of gear diameter, and pinion and spur. But again, this is why I just, as far as advantage goes, when we have all the same cars, they're all inline, they're all scratch built, and we're all using the same motor, the field is incredibly even. If you go back to some of our showdown events and look at the races, I mean, my gosh, there really isn't much difference, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
These are all good questions. Keep asking. So one thing, remember when you do order pinion gears, make sure you get it for 2 millimeter diameter motor shaft, or make sure what
Yeah.
diameter motor shaft you have, because I've made that mistake too. I get a
Right.
gear and it's too big.
Right.
Yep. You're right.
The Piranha motor, your standard S-cam motor here, that's a 2 millimeter shaft. So that's the pinion that you need to press on there. The same thing for the Predator motors. These types of motors there is you need that 4 pinion to go on there and then press it on and then it holds it. Friction. So there you go.
Speaking of pressing pinions on, if you're going to be doing this at all, you're going to need one of these as well. You're going to you got to have a pinion press and puller. You need that even if you're working on ready to run cars, if you're tuning them at all.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's they're not cheap, but it's kind of a necessary piece. Otherwise, you're confabulating weird things with pliers with holes in them, and you're
Yes.
destroying motors trying to put stuff
No, no,
on.
no, no. Yeah, you don't.
So you need
It's
that
real
as well.
simple. It's oh, what's that, Daryl? Oh, yeah. The skills will come. All you have to do is just get started, trial and error. I wish I could show you my early chassis. Um, I,
Oh, mine too.
I don't,
Yeah,
I don't know. I must have murdered miles of solder to
Yeah.
try to get one of
Yep.
these things together. You
You
know,
know,
well,
it's
you
funny,
know,
Daryl. George and I were having this conversation right just before we aired here. Um, we screw up things just as much as everybody else. To this day, you build something and you didn't get it quite right, and you got to take it apart and start over again. It's part of it, and it's not hard. You can desolder things just as easily as you can solder them back together. So don't be afraid to try it. If you mess it up, it's not the end of the world. It can always be changed, and that's kind of the key to this whole thing. Is I know everyone's always afraid of. I don't know how to solder. I don't know how to do that. It's very simple. It's really not hard.
there's the question by Stock Car Daddy again. It says, question: most models are 124th, 125th. You have a source for 132nd bodies.
God, I wish we did.
yeah.
um,
Is there any reason to use a brass pinion over a plastic on a scratch build? The only, well, the main advantage can be the durability. some of the plastic pinions, although they're good, some of the plastic press-on pinions, um, they sometimes the diameter, the inside hole. Let me get one. Um,
Right.
sometimes and hopefully I'll be able to show you. Sometimes this hole, they will tell you for a 2 millimeter motor shaft, and you'll press it on to the motor, and I'll just start this by hand if I can. This is a good example because it's very, very hard to do. So, see, so now I'd have to get my press. That's why you want to press that Dave was talking about. But what'll happen is you're putting, there we go, you're putting this pinion under stress, okay? The pressure, and it will likely, if it's under too much stress, it will crack. I mean, a brass pinion will crack. Nothing is 100% impervious, you know, to breaking. These are toy cars, and we will find a way to break them. That's what we do. But
That's right.
the but that's what plastic pinions are notorious for, is that pressure fit, that they have so much pressure so that they don't slip on the motor shaft, that they lend themselves to cracking. Now, a brass pinion is a bit more precise, but that's why you need a press to press it on. But the brass is softer. It expands a very, very small amount, and it's just less likely to fail on you during the race.
So, Stock Car Daddy, going back to your question about about bodies. So, if you go to the Home
Oh,
Racing World, the main site, there's a lot of archives. I really stress this a lot with everybody. You go to the archives, and I have one right there called "Making a Resin Body Master Part One." This is from Mark Thomas. If you find
Mark Thomas.
yourself
Yep.
Yeah, if you find yourself a suitable body that you could mold one, that's how you really get the 132nd bodies. That's how some of us guys do it. I haven't done it yet. Dave's quite a master at it. So is Harry. But you need to you need to do the reading, and with the right equipment and with, a master that you could use, you can make a lot of bodies. I think, how many bodies can you make from a mold? Like 20 or 30 is it you guys have done?
Yeah, it just depends on a lot of things. The quality of the silicone, the temperature that you're doing, because the resin gets hot. It cures thermally. So, um, yeah, but on average, 25, maybe 30, if you're lucky, bodies come out of a mold before the mold starts to degrade.
And we have another question from Gene Callahan about flux. So, question is, will paste flux work as well as liquid flux? I used to be a plumber, and I am familiar with paste flux.
What's that? The what now? Will paste flux
Paste
work?
flux versus liquid.
I used to
It
be a
it
plumber and familiar with paste flux. Flux does nothing but it is simply helps clean the metal. Um, I just prefer the liquid so that it like it flows around the bushing and everything. At least that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it too. I started
Here,
out using the paste, and the paste works good because it sort of keeps a part where you want it for a minute before you hit it with the heat. But
right,
the liquid paste or liquid flux, I'm sorry, I like it better for just what Harry said. It really wicks in and pulls the solder into the joint
right.
better.
So let's. I don't know here. Like when you're doing your bushings and you have your bushing here and you're wanting to solder it inside a tube. This is just an example. Here's some liquid flux there, and then I just use cheap artist brush. This is a Shotgun Dave trick right there, and then
Yep.
you just flow it in there, and then it flows all around, and now you're ready to give it a shot. So that's why I just kind of like the liquid over the paste. But clean is clean. Just make sure your
This
parts are clean.
this
That's
is kind of my little soldering kit right here. I don't even know where I got this from, but it's just a little tray with some little dimples in it. I put a couple
yeah,
drops of liquid
right.
flux in there, and I use my little brush, and I do it, and you put it right where you want for it to go, and that's
I've
my
been
little kit
waiting
right
for this.
there.
I've been thinking about this question. Dusty's just asking right now about
Yeah,
soldering iron.
answer that. That's right.
Okay,
Yep.
so what I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, George, I'm gonna expand this a little bit. Bring
Go
my
for it.
camera up. Okay. All right. So let me say this. You will get people to disagree right away, but let me grab. I can move this, right? It'll be all right.
Yeah, you'll be good. Do what you need to do, Harry. It's all good.
Okay. So let me say this. My bench is a mess. You
That's
do
good.
not need you do not need these major $100 investments. Yes, I have them, but I do a lot of other stuff. You do not need this to make a toy car chassis, no matter what anybody tells you. You can go for like $50 and get a little Weller like this online, and it does the job. Ask Shotgun Dave, he'll tell you.
Yep. Here's mine
Okay.
right here, my old
Right
Weller.
there. That's what he
Served
uses.
me well.
Now, you guys are going to come with me because we're going to peek under the skirt. I don't do this often. Ignore the RC vehicle. Just ignore it, okay?
Avert
Now,
your eyes.
let me
Getting
let me
another
tell
rabbit
you,
hole.
this iron, this is the old Weller. This is just like the one new in the box. You see this iron, okay? This thing is put together more chassis than I can even count, and not just by me, but from others when they visit down here and they do builds. The most important thing is adjustable heat. Being able to adjust the temperature of your iron goes a long way.
Yep.
The
That
plug-in
station
iron
right there.
can go maximum heat. They can burn the solder and everything else. But that's why I've kept this thing, just to show you that if you're just starting out and you want to do, some good soldering iron, a low-cost outfit like this, you know where to go: Amazon, eBay. Just just Google it. Will do the job. The key is being able to adjust that heat. So that's my opinion on the iron. We might see your face. No, I have a limit to my mistake making.
Another
But yeah,
important thing too, when you solder, you got to make sure that you're heating the brass, because a lot of people that I get from emails get impatient and they go, "It's not melting." Well, you got to keep heat on it. You got to remember,
Yep.
let the brass absorb the heat, so that that's what the flux does. Is allow the solder to flow.
right, exactly, exactly. I just, um, I mean, it's just one of those things where you can, by all means, invest in a better iron, and some people um, will tell you you have to have this and you have to have that. And my answer to these people saying that you have to spend hundreds is, I mean,
No, you don't.
yeah, I mean, what am I supposed to do? Unbuild this because I did use a $300-$400 iron? No, it. But then, like I said, everybody with their tools, they have their own. They have their own opinion. Sometimes I think some people just like to brag about how much they spent, you know. So
Yeah. Hey,
and yeah,
just because you use Craftsman tools doesn't mean you're doing any different job than the guy using Snap-on tools.
Lockhart Daddy. What's a good temp on the iron? Usually right around on the adjustable ones. Usually right, I'd say what about 700, 750. Um,
Yeah, I usually have mine set around 700.
right, 700 degrees to 750 is usually all the heat that we need for doing what we're doing.
Right there is a stay clean flux. That's what I use for.
Right. And the clean tip,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. You have to have your tip cleaner to keep your tip clean. Um, well, let's take another trip.
I don't know
You know,
if you guys can see what I'm doing while Harry's talking here. I'm just trying to show
right there.
you.
That
how
keeps your tip
simple this is.
clean. Yeah. And guess what? If that you have to replace it to keep the tip clean, you could go in the cleaning section. You can just get the little scratch pads here, just like that, the stainless cup or whatever.
Or
Keep your
dollar
tip
store.
clean. Yeah, dollar
Yeah, you
store,
have to go
whatever.
to Amazon. You can just get that.
Absolutely, you got to keep it clean. What's date? Yeah, there you go. When you say you
I'm just
just
trying to do this live on the fly so you can see, that it's not that difficult.
right.
While you're talking, I'm just going to throw a little solder on some scrap.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Some
No easier way.
Man, look at that $10,000 iron, man. Shit.
That ain't a $10,000 iron. It's not. It's not that expensive.
I'm just
But
kidding.
look,
Yeah.
there we go. That's all there is to it, guys. It's not. It's that easy. It's
Just
that
know
easy.
that she bought them for me because I have to use them in other places of the house to earn my slot cars.
Right. But I just wanted to show you guys that it's pretty simple. Um, I don't know about I don't know what George uses, but I'm pretty sure Harry uses the same thing I do because he sends me stuff all the time. But this is 60/40 solder is what we're using.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like the really thin stuff. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I just like the really super thin stuff.
I agree with the thin stuff. It melts easier that way.
Because sometimes if you need to, I've done it where you got two big pieces that you're putting together, say, like a couple of plates, even like if you have them laying together, I'll lay down my flux first. I'll put my flux on, then I'll snip a little piece off and lay it right in a joint and hit it with some hot solder off of the gun and off the iron, and it melts it right in. So
Right.
again, those are just little tricks that you learn along the way. But for basic chassis building, like I said, you guys saw me do that live. It took me all of 30 seconds to get those two pieces of metal together.
That's perfect for headers too, right there, Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody asks, "Hey, how do you bend and make these wonderful? You know, how do you? Man, that looks hard. Not really.
Not really. You know
Solder,
what?
You taught me that.
Okay.
solder works
Really?
wonderful.
All right. I'm going to show you guys another trick that
Real,
I don't
real
know if a
quick,
lot of people know.
Daryl has a question. Sorry to interrupt you, Dave. So
Oh,
do
yeah.
you solder the axle housings in first or the bushings because of the heat transfer?
Are you talking about putting the.
The axle housing in the bracket, I think, is what he's talking about.
Are you talking about like the tube and the? What I
Yes.
do is I put the tube in. I'll put the tube in if I'm doing the tube method, which I almost always do. Then the bushings are in place. Okay. So, and we're talking about making sure this is aligned, of course. So then, then I'll put the axle in place, and then I'm using 15x8 wheels as the setup wheels. These are the wheels you might order to make sure everything is parallel and even. And then I'll have it all set up just like this, and I will do it all at the same time. So I'll flow the flux in here, and zap, zap. I can do it all at the same time.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I do it too, Harry.
Yep. Same here.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. The heat transfer, you're probably just going to heat it up anyway. But if you just do it all at the same time, you're keeping everything aligned. Just makes it simple that way.
Now, real quick, show them that there is a trick. So if you only want to heat one area, especially when you're doing like mod wire builds, there is a trick you can use with little clips. That dissipates heat to that area instead of going across to the brass.
Right.
Trick there that you
So-
taught me that one.
Here, hold on. Let me get a clip. So, you can use larger alligator clips, and they can act as a heat sink. So, not for very long. I mean, but you can do something like that to do a quick repair, and the heat will transfer, just like a heat sink, and a lot of times it can prevent the other side from heating up on you.
Another little trick. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this either, but on your axle, I don't have an axle out here handy. I have to take it out, so I'll just show you. Uh, if you're like how you've got it there, Harry, with the axle into the bushings and everything ready to go, when you slide your
Right.
axle in, if you take a lead pencil and you just scrub it along on that axle before you put the bushing on, slide your bushing in, the solder won't stick to the axle by
Correct.
accident.
Yes. Right.
The
Right. Right.
graphite
Right.
from the pencil will keep it off.
Absolutely. Um, I was soldering something the other day. Where did I? Yeah. So that's it. You just, right? So did you show them? Yeah, the pencil thing. Yeah. There you go. See, silver solder is not needed.
Yeah, silver solder it's too high a temperature to melt.
Yeah. You're
Right.
You
not
don't need that
building
much heat.
scratch chassis for like what they do in
Right,
back.
right.
Right.
They run them down on the pillow, and that has to take more impact.
So,
You don't need that. Not in
um,
this case. It's not even ever needed.
so I have these pieces out, and I want to cover something that I've had some questions on um, over time. When we do the tube method, this is what I call here, where we put the bushings in the tube and use that as the mount. Then when we're finished, of course, we have to cut, use a Dremel, and we cut this out, right? So that we can
Right.
put our gear in there like that, right? So that's where you can see where it was cut and put it in there. And some people say, well, what do you do with that brass? It seems bad to waste it. Well, I guess it does seem like a little bit of a waste, but I don't really think financially it's killing anybody to lose this section. But never throw anything away because you can use this again in this situation. So here's a piece that was cut out, and then you can, if you want to, use those pieces again with bushings already mounted, and if you wanted to, then you can reuse them, put them here like this, and then you can install again here to there with your axle in place, and you can set the width and you can use them again. So if you don't want to throw that piece away, you don't like to waste it, you don't have to waste it.
You
You
know,
can just do that.
we're pack rats by nature. I don't throw away anything. I have this little
No,
Altoids container, and that's
that's
exactly
right.
what's in here. Is all the little stuff I
Right.
cut off. I save it because I'll need it.
Everything. Here, I'll show you. I can't. Yeah, I can. Let me see. Here's just one of them. This is just one of them. This is a good example. I just have that, and it has all sorts of scrap pieces in here. Look
Yep.
at this.
Save it all.
That's right. Never throw anything away. I think it's a
No,
rule. It's a state
it
law.
it has to be.
Daryl's asking, can you use short brass tubing between two bushings and wheels for fat finger soldering? If I read that.
Can you use short brass tubing? Yeah. Well, I mean, sure. Yeah, you can. Like, well, for example, here. Let me get this set up for you to see if this is what you're referring to.
You know what? Here's the thing with this. Um, there's no wrong way to do this. There's no right way to do this. This is just our way, right? There's a million other ways to do it, and if you, in your building adventures, find a better way, or a faster way, or a more durable way, whatever it is, by all means, that's the right way to do it. And um, whatever it takes to get the car on the track. That's how I look at it. Like I say, some of these chassis that we've built, you look at it later and you go, "Oh my God, why did I do it that way?" But it it worked, and there's kind of some basic parameters, but otherwise, the sky's the limit. It's all about creativity and imagination.
Right. And that you said that, I just want to show you guys. This is one of my first chassis that I featured on the site using the existing bracket at the time, but how simple it is. Just a little telescoping one size of brass inside the other and everything. And I had a slot car. Is it the
Yeah.
fastest? Is it the most efficient? Does it perform better than any other chassis design? Absolutely not.
Nope.
It does not. But it made a slot car.
Right.
And
Yeah. For a guy that doesn't want to
that,
spend the extra money on buying
yeah,
separate bushings and everything, you got it. You telescope those pieces of brass inside of each other, and damn it, it works.
yeah, it does.
Guys, have any more questions? Keep asking. That's what we're here for.
But
Like
Yeah.
like like
Fire
Dave
away.
said, you will find your own ways to do things. There is no right or wrong way. And
right,
sometimes mistakes actually will be. You got to make things a win. I've made some
Right.
big mistakes and made them a win. You just have to trug along and don't get discouraged. Because I hear a lot of guys go, "Well, if I start doing it, I'm afraid if I mess up, I'm going to get discouraged and not do it." You can't be that way. You got to keep
No.
going. If you screw up, unscrew it and fix it, and just move on.
right.
You
That's
can't give
it.
up.
Unscrew it. That's good, George. I like that. Unscrew it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, he's right. Um, you can't. Um, what is it that you used? That you said before a long time ago. If you built it, you can unbuild it.
Yep.
You
Right.
know, and we're men by nature. We can take something that's perfectly good and break it and take it
Yeah.
apart just to
Right.
find out what makes it tick. That's what we do. It's in our
Right.
DNA. You know.
Exactly.
I mean, so if you soldered it and you soldered it wrong, heat it up and do it again. You know, yeah, just
Uh,
get the cars on the track. That's right. Don't worry
this.
about how they run, whatever. Start worrying about performance and shaving off a tenth here and a tenth there and doing all that. That'll come later.
Yep.
First,
Right.
let's start getting them on the track.
Well, today's little deal. We're just trying to maybe show everybody what we need to get started and things like that. I think maybe I don't know if the guys out there in the chat would let us know. Maybe we should do a build along. Maybe like we'll get all of our stuff together and we'll actually build a simple chassis step by step. We'll just all do it together and let everybody follow along. And maybe they can build one as we're building it too to get their feet wet to
Good
show them,
idea.
hey, this is how we do it. I
Yeah,
don't know if you
yeah,
guys think it's a good idea or not.
right. Oh yeah, it's a great idea.
I
I
do.
think it will help a lot. And then you can see us doing it live on camera and watch us screw it all up too, and know that you can fix it.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything that I want you guys to know is that I have an incredible ability and to humiliate myself willingly. I don't care.
Oh, yeah, me
Um,
too.
I
so
do it
anyway,
all the time.
so Daryl was and the pins. I just didn't want to build something that looked like modern yard art. Oh yeah, well trust me, I wish I had my own designs. But going back to that, with your bigger fingers and the smaller tubes, these are the smaller tubes. So yes, you can use them, and then you just adjust the width on the how you want it to be, and setting it up, setting your width. So yeah, you can use it. But remember, you're not holding this with your fingers. My fingers are like bratwurst too. I'm not holding this with my finger. Okay, these are set up in the setup block, and once you get them set up, oh well, in your block and your height, then they are where they are.
Hey,
For
Slot
example,
Car Daddy.
Actually, Dusty had a question too, real quick. It says, so all
okay,
the
what do we got?
HRW showdowns are 1/25th scale or 1/32nd. So that's
It's
depending on what the rules are set by Harry. Usually, the showdown ones are 1/32nd, unless they're land barges
the,
or 1/25th.
right. The actual original Showdown cars, both the modified and sportsman, are 1/32nd scale.
Right.
So this would be a 132. This is a shotgun Dable resin body and just a simple chassis. So that's just 1/32nd scale. And the sportsman car. Grab one.
You should have one. I think this one is a modern sportsman. This is one of Harry's molds. I sent this in. This car really is a good running car. It's just a basic chassis. And it performs well on the wood track up on Hangar 1. It whirls.
And then here's a sportsman 132.
Yeah.
So the original Showdown is 1/32nd scale, and it features sportsman class cars, which are the full body sedans with the fenders and everything, the old bomber division, as we called it at my track when I raced. And then, of course, the modifieds, fenderless. So that's 1/32nd scale. The other part of the Showdown is 1/25th scale. It's like a special um, event within an event. We just want to feature both scales.
Slot Car Daddy and
With everything you need for a basic chassis.
But,
I think if you go to the website, they have done that.
yeah, they have. So I was going to say, George, if he could bring it up there, Slot Car Corner has
HRW showdown parts right here.
Right. You just click on that and buy everything on the list.
Link the parts.
Yeah, there you go. And there's both scales, 132,
and 124.
132 and 124. So the motor brackets, the motors, the motor screws, lead wire, axles,
everything,
the bushing, even the tubing for the tube method, your slotted gears, your pinions, the size wheels we use, everything you need to build a legal chassis to Showdown specs is there.
So here you go, Stock Car Daddy, right here. It says HR Showdown parts, and the selection of the two chassis: 1/25th, 1/24, 1/32nd.
Yeah, practice makes perfection.
And it'll tell you the brackets, the motors,
absolutely,
the lead wires. It's got everything: axles, bushings, tubes, gears, pinion gears, wheels. So that's what you have right there.
Right.
Everything's there.
Absolutely. Yep.
Gene, my recommendation to you is don't use the cast posts. They'll snap right off. It's not durable. You're better off to take those cast posts out of that body and glue in either styrene or wood or some other material, because the casting will break really quick.
Your slot car will take a hit, trust me. We've seen many hits.
Oh yeah, no problem.
You'd find out the first time it deslots and hits the wall once, it's going to snap those cast-in resin posts right off.
Mount the body using a cast post. Oh, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. There's all sorts of methods for body posts. Everybody has different, again, just... you could just use, dowel rod, wooden block.
Wood works really good.
Wood is a good body post where you can drill a hole in there, and just glue it. It weighs like nothing. So,
I'll post those links, guys, to that. Sorry to interrupt, to those parts. So
go ahead.
Yeah, there it is right there. George has it up there. That's perfect. That's everything you need right there. Just order everything on the list.
Yep. So there's, setting your width. I have an old video, but it still applies. How to build a Showdown chassis step by step.
That's how I learned.
Even the SEC even has the brass in there, don't they?
They do have the brass in there for that.
Okay, yeah. So you just buy everything on that list, and you'll be making a car.
And there's one other thing. Let me. Somebody I wrote this down. Somebody emailed a question just recently. Okay, the bushings that we're talking about, um, the the oil light bushings, right? What we're talking about is for the tube method, is we're talking about the 3/16 here, the flange. See, it's a single flange. So right here, that part is 3/16. So we'll just go here. And that part is what we're talking about when we say 3/16. And that is what fits into the 7/32 tubing that they show. See? And it spins, right? So that's the bushing we prefer to use. However, the question I had was, this is bigger. You still can use that bushing. It'll drop in here. Yes, it moves around. That's great. Let it move around, because you can still put an axle through here, right? You can still get the axle through and balance it. Make sure it's parallel on your board, just like that, see? So you could use it both ways. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit on the inside. You're still going to flow solder here on the outside. You're still going to flow solder, and it's going to hold them in there. I've done it many times. So you don't have to get the 1/4 inch. You could just stick with this if that's the method that you want to use. So even though there's some free play there, free play is good. That helps you balance it or align it.
So you can align everything.
Right. You want some free play. You don't want it too tight. Dave show you just taking like your tubing and just, I just use an old X-Acto blade a lot of times just to go in the inside. See that? And peel some of that off of there.
Yeah.
Just like that. And then when you put your bushing in, you want a few thousands. That's it.
This is what I use. This is a handy little tool, little reamer.
Yeah, the reamer.
That way, if you get a little bit of flash on the inside, which you almost always do when you cut it, you just whisk it right off. I think you could probably buy these at Lowe's.
Oh yeah, piece of cake. Piece of cake.
That one's old. That was my grandfather's.
Man, yeah, some of these tools, we've had them for a while.
Yeah.
Dave, you have your opinion and gear press there?
Yeah, mine's right here.
Okay. Like I said, that's important to have.
Yeah, you won't be able to press any pinion gears if you don't have that. You won't be able to finish a build. That's an important.
Well, you can. I'm not even gonna tell anybody how you can.
I know the other way. I've done it too.
No,
yeah, you don't want to do it that way. So just invest in that thing. It's not that expensive. I mean, it's expensive. It's what, $50?
I just look at all the tools that we have as like any other trade, like the Fingers was saying or whatever. If you're a welder by trade, or this is what you're wanting to do, then you're going to have to invest in the tools. There's just no way around. I mean, you can try to build a wooden rocking chair out of a arc welder. I mean, good luck to you.
Yeah, you got to have the right stuff to start with.
Right, you have to have some right tools to start with. You don't need to invest, like I said, in some of the, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of tools but once you get your skills and you start honing your skills, well then, if you want to invest in something a little nicer, then go for it. I'm just one of those guys. If it works, then just use it, and
Me too.
Thank God for Harbor Freight, because otherwise none of us would have any tools.
Nope.
Thought Car
I don't
Dojo has.
need.
Sorry.
Yeah. Huh?
Thought
What's
Car
that?
Dojo has one question. Does the motor mount work for all motors? I would say yes.
For all
Yeah,
your basic
pretty
1/32
much.
scale motors, it will. Um, so for
And then Tony Tibbs says, how important is it to keep the brass clean before soldering? Just like
Very
welding,
important.
you have to clean your material. Clean brass is happy brass.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not hard. A little sandpaper, clean it up.
And then he's asking Slot Car Dojo, do you need the bender SCC cells? I guess he's talking about the wire
For
bender.
wire,
Yeah.
oh, wire the
you
two.
don't
Oh, the
Don't have
bender. Yeah. Okay.
you don't need it. It's not a necessary item. It just for certain things like okay, here's this chassis that I've been working on for a little project I have. This is it's wire, and I wanted perfect right angles and I want it to be straight. So I invested the $35 in buying the bender, the RGO wire bender, and it's worth it. You can do a lot of crazy things with this, but it's not necessary. You can use two pairs of pliers to bend your wire.
Yep.
So um, you don't need it. No, you don't. But does it make it life easier? Yeah, it does. So if it interests you, grab one. Another thing I look at is a lot of these tools are made by little cottage industry guys like this RGO wire bender. It's made by a guy who does all this himself. These are handmade. And
Yes.
so
Right.
you're helping support a small business also, as well as furthering your hobby. You're helping a guy out. And so I enjoy doing that.
I got one too.
So
Yeah.
so for the $35 it costs, it'll last you probably forever.
Right.
Maybe if your kids get into slot cars, they'll be inheriting your tools because they'll outlast you probably.
You, and sometimes for different sizes or whatever, depending if you have the strength to do it, um, you can find these on Amazon or other hobby shops. These are just little benchtop benders, right? So you see the little round here. If you feel like forming it by hand, just this is just a simple one. They're like $6 or $7. So
Yep, those
they're
work
not for
good
a lot
too.
of precise bending, but they work.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then I was just showing him the motors um, for your standard, your FK and stuff. So here's your S-can motor. You'll notice the size here, the diameter, and the holes, the distance on the bracket. So it will fit, and the thickness is the correct thickness. These cans. So here is just like a long can. Okay, same thing. It'll work on the other side. So see, it's bolted to there. So different motor configurations, but they will work.
This
No, they're not for the bigger commercial motors, and they're not for
no.
the slimline. They're not for the
Right.
slimline motors,
Mm-mm.
but they are here for the standard motors like this.
They do make
Yeah,
that
for
F1
this for
bracket.
the little slimline motors, you're gonna have to make your own bracket. I don't know if anybody makes a bracket for that FF
They
motor,
do.
do they?
They do for that F1 bracket, that real narrow one. That's
Oh,
they make
Yeah.
it in my configuration. That's the only thing.
Right. Is there a link to that bender? I think
Yeah, I
there is.
posted the
Okay.
link here. I posted it
Oh,
on
okay.
the
You got
chat.
it.
So, yeah,
You
Tony
got it
Tibbs
up there.
link is on there on the chat. That's to the RGO bender.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah, um, these will work for a variety of the bills, 132 and the 120 and 124th builds. They do the job. So just simple brackets like that, or custom make your own. You know, I know some guys that have some of these old brackets and they've cut it off, and they use this bracket as the template on other brass to mark it out and cut their own. But
Slot Car Dojo. This is what I use. This Harris Stay Clean Flux. That's the.
I'll post it.
I'm sure you can get it online. You can. I don't know if they have it at
Amazon.
Lowe's or.
I'll get it to Amazon.
some hardware stores carry it, but I don't know if Lowe's and them. Lowe's always seems to have paste flux. I haven't seen them carry liquid.
Right.
But
Actually, yeah.
this little bottle, God, I've had this forever, and it's probably still half
I
full.
know.
It lasts a long time.
Another brand. I mean, it's Lucky Bob's is popular. Um,
Yeah,
you would have to. I don't know. You could Google it. Let me see. Um, Lucky Bob's Flux. But the one that Dave uses is basically in what I just have it in a. I put it in my own little container with my brush, and it lasts. Like I don't know. That's a year and a half right there. I mean, it lasts.
right.
So
I
yeah,
think they had a gel kind.
It lasts for a long time.
yeah. Soccer
Um,
Corner had Lucky
Slot Car
Bob,
Dojo.
Lucky Bob with the brush is $5.
Yeah, let me look.
It's out of stock right now, but they'll probably get some back in. But
Yeah,
just do a Google search on it. But what Dave showed you is going to do the trick too.
I have.
Oh, no. Did we lose everybody? You there, Harry? Still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I think with Dave, we kind of lost Dave a little bit there. Let's see if he comes back.
Yeah, okay.
As long as it wasn't my
What
end.
use the bender for railings? Yeah, for locomotives. Oh, okay. Yeah, you mean this the scale locomotives?
I
Okay,
think
I
so.
started with Lucky Bob's. Have stayed clean. Notice no difference. Absolutely. I don't notice a difference. Um, I don't know what's the brand. It's in a blue and white bottle that Lowe's carries. Same thing. I see people using all sorts of different types. I don't see a difference. Let's see what else here. So, any other questions?
There. Trying to get Dave
Am
back.
I here?
Yeah, you're still
Am I
there.
still?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we got. I started looking Bob. So let's see, George. Thanks for providing. Yeah, no problem, guys. I'll try and do the best I can with that. But
Oh
ask
yeah, doing a great job.
ask as many questions away. That's why we're here. We'll get Dave back in a minute. I think his signal's
Yeah,
not.
we'll get him back. We'll get him back in a second. Yeah, um, it's all quite easy. Once you get started, you just um, you're gonna make mistakes, but you know, there's so many different chassis designs. As one of the guys there said, it's just very rewarding to build your own.
Big time.
You know, fellow, great content. Yeah, build his own car now. Yeah, way to go, Daddy. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah, it's amazing how much scratch building has changed our hobby in just the last 5 or 6 years because the manufacturers just they do a good job for a lot of people. There's just some things they don't make, and that's up to the grassroots guys. 3D guys, 3D printing things, making the pods they want, bodies, air cleaners, everything else. The 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 enthusiast, we're gonna get what we want. It's just a matter of because we're stubborn and and we want what we want, and we'll figure out how to build it ourselves.
Oh yeah, definitely. Do you have a
Preference
preference on things?
of chassis rails. Um, I would say it depends on the car size. What would you say, George?
Uh, I like using certain ones for 124th. It just depends on what I'm putting together, and it depends on the
Well,
car.
like,
I would
like
say.
for example, if we're just talking like a square tubing for different builds, the 532nd is a good go-to. That's a pretty good size. You could go bigger, one size bigger or smaller. I think I have a chassis built with that.
Yeah.
Um, And then the 1/8.
Yeah. 41.
The 1/8 is a good rail.
Yeah.
Let me go get a chassis, George. Hold on.
All right, no problem. Yeah, there's a. Let me get my camera back to. We'll get Dave back, you guys. His computer froze. He has an older Mac computer he wants to update. Needs to get another computer, so he's trying to log back in. So going to cars here. So you said the rails. Here's exactly what I used for this pickup truck. I built this I think 2 years ago. I think this is the 8152 that I used. And I mean, it works well. And this is only a 2 mounting point on this. So this truck has a little, got the little action. The body moves as it, takes off. So it's got a little suspension on there. But this is a very basic chassis, a very basic tongue. And it works well. This truck does really well. It's 332nd axles, 29 crown gear, and a 9-tooth pinion. This is the old Jaws motor, I believe. That's what I used on this before we were using the Predators. And of course, your smaller cars. There's the
Yeah,
small.
here's so just an example. This is the what is the smaller size there in the stinker chassis? This is. Let me get my. Yeah. So this is the 332nd square tubing, and that would work. It just depends on the car, right? So this is 132. It's a chassis. You could go up to the 1/8 if you wanted. And then for like my 125th chassis or whatever, then you could step up to a 1/8 or the 532nd here, as I did. And then I have piano wire here on the sides. It really is just up to you, the design, the car, whatever you want to use. Or you don't even have to use it at all. You can just use wire, and you don't even need the brass tubing at all. Just depends on how you want to do it, your own design.
Here's one from Wire. That was basically all wire chassis. This is the Camaro I did. And this is all wire right here. Made it the frame and
Sure.
mount. You just build as you design. There's not really a, how would you say, a blueprint that I put out to what's going on. I think Dave is back. Hey Dave, welcome back.
Am I back? Oh, there we go.
We're just talking about the rail sizes and stuff and on chassis and yep.
Cool.
Here's some chassis like this. This is just using brass. This is Strange Brew, Dave, the one that with his modifieds, and he just uses lightweight brass. And then if you want a little stronger, a little more string, that's just brass rod. Easier to bend. It'll build a chassis.
Ian Callahan's asking you, Harry, what does the piano wire add when you are using the tubing?
It's just
More
strength.
flexibility, strength.
Yes, it's strength. You can it for some people, depending on the speeds, it just adds durability and strength to the chassis. Rigidity.
Yep.
Some people also like is they like using it. It's easy to set up using the piano wire or brass wire or whatever to set their wheelbase and everything else. Some people just like bending it like that, and just been doing it that way for a long time.
All right. So we
But
got.
oh man, I can't get enough
Yeah.
coffee today. I don't know what's wrong with me.
It just depends on what kind of car you're building too.
Right.
Wire for flex also, I would say yeah, because brass doesn't flex, not square tubing. with the piano
Yeah,
wood.
there's this one flexes really good, but these like the jalopies don't flex at all. You know.
This one right here really scoots around my track. This is the one you sent me, Dave. This thing is a smooth running fun
What is
car. This thing, it's just it moves nicely.
Yeah, that one's
well,
made, set up for a wood track. So you set them up different from plastic to wood. So
right. Yes, and race and for flex. Let me show you an example, if you
Oh yeah,
got if you don't
Dr.
mind. Let me
Dave's
show you.
car. Yeah, Dr. Dave's car. Show 'em that one. That one.
Yeah, let me show you a good example of the flex. If you want that flex. Um,
That's a nice chassis he built too, and that car's
so
really.
this is let me pick this up. This is 1/25th scale, but it applies to 132 as well. Um, Let me show you this design. So what we have here is we have the piano wire. Okay, we have our guide plate here. This is just the design. This is a very common design, commercial racing, scratch building. And you notice the wire coming up here and here. Okay, it isn't soldered in place. There's just some brackets here that limit it. And then it's soldered up front. And what happens is you have flex. See that? Right there. So that has a great effect. Traction, chatter, vibration, just a common thing. So using that wire and the piano wire and the steel, and because it's going to go back, brass is probably going to stay. So the steel is just going to flex back.
yeah, it's kind of
I
like
don't,
adding float to a scratch or a
yeah, right
ready-made
there.
card.
Right.
Tony
So
Tibbs is asking real quick. Sorry. So you're saying a stiffer chassis is best for wood tracks?
it,
Mm,
it just, it depends on, your
yeah,
tires, your track situation, a stiffer chassis might be the hot setup. Whereas on a commercial track chassis with spray glue, and foam tires and this and that, something with a little flex is going to be your friend that'll twist. Also, the motor power. We're using very milder motors compared to other chassis. You know,
right.
50, 60,000 RPM. This and that. A lot more torque. So it it all depends on the track conditions out here. For us, with the Showdown cars, most of these cars are I mean, they haul the mail. We have some great times, and most of them are stiff. The float is here. See the screws. Just loosen the screws, and you just have some body float. So a stiffer chassis usually works the best out here for what we're doing. Paul gauge urethane tires that have a little bit of give, so to speak, on the track gives us a nice drift, reduces the chatter, and our motor RPM is limited, to the 21K Piranha and Predator.
So Gene Callahan is actually asking also, is soldering steel the same as soldering brass?
Yeah, pretty much. You got to get it clean,
Clean.
and it pretty much solders exactly the same way.
Keep it clean.
That's it. Keep it clean. Always. That's the key.
Yeah, clean metal is happy metal.
Yeah.
You know, does it? That's all you got to do. Is just um, keep it clean. And I don't. You notice some of the other guys' builds, they're very shiny. I paint mine because I'm no good at doing the.
Well, why are you buffing about?
Yeah. Oh, this is something I want to show you for some of these tubings when you're doing your parts reference. Okay. K&S, um, they have a numbering system. it's different sometimes. For a single tube, just a single piece, like this 732nd, part number is 8130. But then in some hobby shops on the wall rack, they have two pieces, and it's 5130, right?
Uh,
So when you're ordering online, you look at go by your size, and then you can go by the length. And sometimes you can get them in like 2-foot sticks, 3-foot sticks, and singles at the K&S kiosk. So just um, know about those numbers. Just go by your size, what you want.
Yeah, it's always best to go by size first. That's what I do.
Right. Exactly. That's that's what you want to do.
the beauty of this thing right here of building your own cars, you could build what you want. Because some of the manufacturers that do produce plastic cars, and against nothing against plastic cars, they don't produce those odd cars that maybe you grew up with, or that are cars that
Yeah.
you can't get. You could do that. That's why I did a lot of some of these movie cars that I've done, and just cars that you can't get.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure. That's the whole point of scratch building is to build stuff that you can't get.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That you can't get, probably never will get. And even
Nope.
if they do, and even if they do make it, they're not going to run as smooth and nice as a scratch built. And as someone just said here earlier, it's also not going to deliver the satisfaction of you doing it yourself.
No.
Looking
That's
at the car and going, "Hey, I did that,"
right. I mean, that for me, that's the number one reason why I do it. My days of building real cars are long gone, and so this gives me my creative outlet and lets me build cars.
Right. Absolutely.
Oh, Three Bean Raceway, good. You're going to get you one of those benders. You won't regret it.
All right. Any other questions out there, you guys? Ask away.
Oh, and
That's
Slot Car Dojo's right. You could get the brass at Hobby Lobby too.
Absolutely.
They don't
If you
always
have a
carry
local hobby,
everything though.
they don't carry they don't carry everything, but they do have some. They do have some pieces.
a
Yeah.
good a good
Wow.
RC shop will carry a lot of good selection too. I know there's one around here that does.
I was going to show you guys something. Hobby Lobby has this, the brass in the blue package
Oh, the
versus
extra
the
soft.
red.
Yep.
This is annealed brass.
Yes.
So
Right.
where regular brass is very sturdy and rigid and you can't bend it, this stuff is like putty.
Oh well, they had
And
they had annealed in blue. What I usually do to anneal it is I heat it up
but
to
it
anneal it.
doesn't work for brass.
Yeah, actually I've done it and it has. I mean,
Really, I've tried to
yeah.
anneal brass myself and it never works.
You know those chassis that I made, Harry, with the bends? I did one by annealing it, and it did work. I mean, I'm getting lucky. I don't know, but that's cool to know that they come in blue. That's annealed because that's nice to bend that like that.
But
That's
the
cool.
problem is you don't want to use this for anything structural.
No, no, that's only for like
Yeah, I use
something
it for headers
cosmetic. Yeah.
because I can bend it however I want, and once you put it on the car, the bends are so small that it stays soft or it stays hard.
Okay, grandson of man asking a question here. Fellas,
What?
for a front mount motor, would scratch built be better or a 3D print?
What's that? For a what?
Front mount motor, so he means where the motors are in the front of the car, like the
I mean,
Carrera.
like an old fly car or something like that.
Yeah. The like. Let's see. One. I believe brand kind of wire bender for a front mount motor. Would scratch built be better or 3D print? Well, the only way to answer that is, I mean, the design of your chassis is, are you going to incorporate um, the two materials? I mean, um, I'm almost always going to say for strength, and durability. But the 3D pods that people are making today are pretty strong. Just depends on the material you're using. But um,
Making a front engine car is a little more difficult.
yeah, right.
You got to
Yeah,
have a drive shaft. So
yep,
you're going to have to find the proper size brass that fits over the pinion. And then you're going to need another pinion on the other end to put a gear on
yeah,
and mount all this to where it drives the rear wheels.
That seems
yeah.
easy.
I
You know,
mean,
you
Pain in the
you
ass to do. I'm
it's
sorry.
a pain in the ass. I've done it a couple of times and it's
I didn't want to do that.
it's not worth the effort.
yeah. It just depends on what you're trying to do. What kind of car? But I mean, you can take a bracket like this, you know. I mean, and you know, you could take this and just mount the motor the other way, and then it would work for a front motor if you wanted to.
I
That's
get why
yeah.
you would want to. Some of the old car bodies were front motored
Yeah, like a
cars.
flyby Corvette or like the old Revell. Right. Yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm going to really suggest as far as scratch is to stick with metal. Um, People are making some nice hybrid chassis out there. A couple of guys on the forum, are mixing the brass with slotted type pods. Some people order the slotted pods just directly, and they mix, that. But there's a difference in the material durability of of the slotted ones and one that you're going to print by hand. I mean, the standard PLA isn't going to be that strong. It may break over time. So I would suggest just sticking with brass myself.
Gene says, "Have we ever made a front wheel drive car?" I haven't done it personally, but I have seen them. Remember a few years ago, Harry, when we did the autograss proxy with the minis?
Yeah, yeah,
There was a
yep.
couple of guys built front wheel drive because minis are front wheel drive in real life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make them good in real life, and it doesn't make them good as a slot car.
I agree 100%. But it can be done if you needed to do it.
Dave, tell us your
Yes.
steering one.
Oh Christ! Don't get me started on the steering.
You
Yeah.
explain
Yeah,
that.
we was back when Bob was still around, and we were doing that. I made a full front suspension and was steering out of brass.
Mhm.
What a pain in the butt!
Right.
And all
Yeah.
it did was make the car go slower.
The 4x4 Audis and everything else that mimic the the real deal. Yeah, they're cool and they run great, but um, you just uh,
Doing some
they
of this stuff
run
is nothing more
just
than an
as good, if
exercise
not
in
better.
creativity.
Yeah, yeah. It just depends on what you want out of the car, what your own level of performance, your own level of personal performance, what you want, and then you just build accordingly.
If you go back and look at my old videos of that car with the steering, it looks awesome coming around the corner with the wheels all crossed up and everything. It's fantastic for photography, but that car was way slower than the rest of my cars.
I like the way the drive feels with the front motor, not too concerned with speed as much as. See, and that's exactly, Ransom, and that's exactly the right attitude to have right there when it comes to scratch building, whatever it is. You're going to build this how you want it to feel, what you want to accomplish. And,
Right.
really, who cares how it performs? Especially for some of us that are just, we're here by ourselves playing with cars and we're running against the laptop. As long as the car is fun to drive and enjoyable and we're satisfied with, I really could care. Half the time I don't turn the timer on. I could care
Nope.
less.
That's right. And within our own group, we all build similar cars. They all run pretty good, together anyway. So we're not looking for the fastest car. We're looking for the most fun.
Yeah, and the fun factor is so when you're racing and you're neck and neck and you're coming around the corners and you're bumping and rubbing, that's what
Yep.
makes it a lot of fun because that's where the potential of just, you know, just rubbing is racing. That's the fun part right there.
Oh
Having
man, wait till
somebody
you get
faster
four
than
guys out
somebody
on
else.
that oval.
That thing, that's fun as
Yep.
hell.
Yeah, with all these open wheel jalopies that we build, and man, two tires touch each other, and you got cars flying everywhere.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
It's fantastic.
That's the beauty of it. But yeah, that's exactly the attitude that we have. I mean, especially me, because my cars aren't going to win crap, but I want them to be smooth, um, as smooth and quiet and enjoyable as I can. And I look back and I say, well, I've got a, you know, I did this, I built this, and
Right.
here it is, that they're never going to make the
It's so
European
cool.
manufacturers, because that's all they're never going to make this
No.
ever.
The only
We
closest
are
one
going
to
to have
make
to
something
do it.
like that is Pioneer with the Legends.
These cars have made many
Right.
trips around the show me, and
Yeah.
they're still here.
They're
Of course, they're all
still,
taken apart now because I'm working on them. But
yeah, there's, you know, you just look at the designs. Like I said, they're just simple,
yeah,
just simple inline, different thickness brass, slightly different wheelbase, as you can see, different guide tongue designs. Yet, these will both run together so close that it's up to the driver.
right.
And those
Yep.
chassis right there, all you do is just throw a piece of metal down and just start making something. Imagine
Yeah.
it in your head, or even the model kits that
Right.
you get. You could look at some of the model
Yep.
kits. You could go off that, and that's what you do.
Right.
I never have a planned design when I'm
Yeah,
doing.
right there. Cutting up and having fun. Memories made. That's it. I think people lose sight of it sometimes.
Yep.
I saw a guy post on the forum and on the on Facebook, whatever. It, he made some comment like, hey, we don't really care about the people or whatever. It's the cars. I'm like, yeah, it's totally opposite. The cars are
Yeah.
cool, but hanging out with with your friends and buddies, like you said, cutting up, having a few laughs, and having a good time. That's what it's all about. Now, some people, they have to be, serious, contenders and everything else. I get that. I do. I've been down the road. We all have. A lot of us have. I get that, but I hate to remind some of these guys, well, it's a toy. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Even if we hand built
even
it, it's still a toy.
even the 1-to-1 uh, gigantic barge that I drove, a '64 Impala, at the local dirt track, that was a toy. I
Yep.
certainly wasn't making a living. Okay,
Absolutely.
uh, racing a stock car. So just it was a toy, but um, just having fun. That's always been the motto. Uh, one of them is just having fun.
Having
No.
fun and barbecuing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Barbecuing
The
man.
food. That's what brings
Yeah,
it
food.
so much.
barbecue. But by a good burger, your preferred beverage, right? And
Yep.
and a fun slot car, a good running slot car, and that's like some of the things that make life worth living, right there.
It don't get no better than
Uh,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's
So, what do you guys think? Should we do this regularly and pick a specific topic each week now and really concentrate on something to teach?
sure we can. Yeah,
You want to do it like every other week or every week? So it depends.
Whatever you
every
guys
other
think.
week, maybe.
I I
Yeah.
think
Well,
I
you
think
know me.
yeah. I would say every
I
other
can't always
weekday
make.
because it'll keep people salivating. Because if we do it constantly, they may get, how would you say?
Yeah, we don't want to burn them out.
Yeah, I don't want to burn
Right.
anybody out because you could get burned out on anything. And
Right,
then
Hey,
you
we
get to
like to keep
oversaturate the market, so to speak.
our audience riveted.
there you go.
There you go.
Yes.
So let's ask the chat area. So what thing would you guys want us to cover? And this is kind of in your hands. I try and do this with the Raul chat a lot on the Conquest, and we never really get too much feedback. and we really need the feedback. If you guys want something, you have to speak up for it. We could
Right.
toss out so many things, but if you don't get any, how'd you say, feedback,
Hey, you know what?
that's what we
I
need.
got a I got an idea for the next for the next maybe the one of the topics can be for the next one is the hybrid of scratch building with ready to run bodies.
Hey, that's a great idea right there.
That is a good
Maybe
idea.
we'll
I got
talk
Absolutely.
about
plenty of
that.
those upstairs.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah, let's maybe we'll talk about that. You know.
That was my
You
first
know.
car, Harry. Was that you have that brown GTO over there? That was a Carrera body. That was the first car I did. That's how I did the body. Was I got the
Yeah.
body exactly like that. That's how I started. Just made the chassis.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
That's how we. That's how we. I got started. Is trying to actually make a monogram car run. Is you had to put a chassis under it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Buy the
So
Revell car
yeah,
and throw away everything but the chassis or but
Th-
the body.
right,
this
right.
one right here.
Fundamental.
This one
Yeah,
right here is a
chassis
perfect
design.
example of that. This thing hauls ass. This is a Revell. This is a monogram body. This thing moves. And there's the chassis.
Yeah.
This is a mover.
What is a good a resource for resin bodies? First thing I'll tell you, it
Yourself.
it's check my forum and yourself. Some guys sell bodies on eBay. I can just tell you that the quality, um, not all quality is the same. I have a
Yeah.
few castings. I have a few castings myself. Chuck and Dave has a few castings. You know, we don't have every car. You know, you just
No.
have to research what car do you want, and then go from there.
Yeah, I would, it's
Yeah, the
hard.
resin
132
Chevelle.
scale is the hardest. There just aren't any bodies around to make.
The
Yeah.
problem also with that is, so when I first got into this, the guys were very reluctant to give bodies out because you have people that grab those bodies and try and make a profit off it. And
Pirates.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the problem with trying to give bodies
And
away.
that's
We
and
need if
that's what's
you're
on eBay right
exactly
now. Is some of my bodies that I've made. You know, you end up selling them or giving them to somebody, and then they give them to this other person, and then they backcast it, and then they put it on eBay, and they didn't
Yep.
really put in the work, but there's not really anything we can do. So I
and
get really
castings too.
selective on who I'm going to give a body to. I usually don't really sell them anymore. If somebody really wants one to scratch build for like the Showdown, then I'll just mail them one.
That's how I am too. As long as they actually use it and not sell it, that's all I care about.
And how to
That's the
mount
thing.
model bodies and how to mount model bodies to the chassis. Yeah, I have a video um, that covers body mounting.
Yep.
Um, uh, uh, Barrero. I have a video showing a couple different ways to mount the bodies. But yeah, we can sure go through that.
So soccer
Mark
judging
Thomas does
Connecticut.
nice
Yeah.
resin bodies. Yes, he does.
Oh my God, those
Mark
are
does.
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and if you know you can reach out to him, yeah, and just send him a good old fashioned simple email. Contact him on the HRW forum, PM him, whatever. Say, hey, you know, I'd really like to get this. The only thing is, it has to be probably something that we already have the mold for, because we get this a lot where I really wish you would make this car, you know, whatever car here, and that's likely never going to happen
It's a lot of
because
work.
there's no way. There's too much work involved to do custom resin bodies like that. We just, you know, we kind of make what we like, and if we have something that you might like, then cool. But he usually
Right.
doesn't. Um, he's just got a lot of sportsmen and dirt cars. Um, that's what we make most of.
Mhm.
Yes, but they're top notch, um, top shelf models, to say the least.
So Slot Car Dojo, you can make a cast of that if you want. That link I sent about making your own cast, that's from Mark Thomas. It's not that hard. Dave, you tell him it's not that difficult.
It really isn't. I mean, it's not super easy, but it's not super difficult either. It's just basic skills.
Yeah.
And the materials are a little bit pricey, but if you want something, you'll pay to make it.
I, that's the key is when you price it out, when you find out that the silicone to make the mold, that's the caviar of this outfit.
Yep.
Right.
That's expensive. That's expensive. And the pressure tanks to pressurize the things to keep the air bubbles out. These are all little things that you have to have and do to make a quality mold that'll last. So it really isn't as simple as easy as. But that one, how to master a body. George can post that link again. That's what it takes.
I
Um,
started out with casting by making little crappy molds to make slosh castings out of,
right,
and they were fine for me. I didn't care if the car had holes in it or whatever.
right.
Explain the
But
slosh cast
as
so they understand
as
that.
I've gone along, I've found it's better to have quality stuff up front.
It is.
Make sure
Hold on.
explain the slosh casting so this way they understand that.
It's a one-piece mold. It's you pour your resin in, and you literally have to slosh it around,
Right.
Here.
and so it's very uneven and bumpy and lumpy. And but again, for my own use, making one body to build a car out of, I didn't mind the extra work.
So Tony Tibbs is asking if I have a link to the pads on my desk. Those are the ones that are from Home Racing World. They're the gear chart. I think Harry has them too. Is that what you're talking
So
about?
this is an example of a one-piece slosh cast mold, the silicone, and what happens is you pour the resin in here, okay, and you take a brush, you brush around, and then you do this. That's where the term slosh goes, and you just
Yeah, you
do this,
swirl it around.
and then you're twirling around, keeping it level, bringing the resin up on the walls, and
Yep.
waiting for it to start to harden, right? But let me tell you what, after you do this, like the first body, you don't want to do it anymore
No.
because uh, equals watching paint dry. Okay,
Yeah, it's horrible.
you know, or so. And what'll happen is you'll think, oh, it's good enough, and you'll sit it down, and that's why most of the slosh casts have a roof this
Yeah, it's
thick,
a half-inch thick.
and the sides of the car
You can
are
see through them.
you could see through them because they almost never ever do you do this enough and let it dry completely. But because
Uh,
silicone is so expensive, no, they don't want to spend the money for the plug to go in here that goes on the top.
well, Gene just commented that he followed my techniques and it worked out, and he did. I have to commend him highly. He followed what I posted in my video. He made his own mold for his
132 models
Cougar.
and run. I don't know how the dynamics are getting that done. Elbar, I can tell you right now, it makes no difference. For years we've spoke to companies about doing this and that. And when it comes to like the model companies, Revell, AMT, this and that, when it comes to slot cars, it's nothing more than a gimmick. They just don't care. Um,
Right.
they're not going to make. They've
They're
re-released
not going to do it.
an Atlantis. Well, as a matter of fact, Atlantis has picked up some of the old molds, the '69 Nova, the Camaros. They've got a few, nice model bodies and everything, M132, but 132nd scale to these companies, they don't care. They have a hard enough time selling the larger scale kits, you know, because modeling just isn't what it used to be popularity wise. But I we've done a lot of things contacting them over the years, trying to show these model companies, hey, look what we're doing. We're still building slot cars. Look at all these cars, and
They don't
they
care.
just don't care. They don't care.
So, so Grandson of Man, anybody ever try Nemus's method of fiberglass? So Nemus slot cars is a really
Oh,
and
oh,
builder and very expensive. And
Yeah, totally.
honestly, I wouldn't want any of those cars because once you nail it, you've wasted a lot of money. But I wouldn't even fiberglass. I wouldn't even go that route. That's
I wouldn't either. Fiberglass is too brittle.
yeah, it's itchy and it's more of a pain in the ass. I don't know if you ever worked on a Corvette. I get no thanks. I wouldn't. Honestly, that's my opinion on that. But if you don't want to try it, go for it.
And to make the fiberglass super strong, it'd be too thick. I mean, I know that that man's cars are beautiful, but I don't know if I would go the fiberglass route.
Here's the thing about the places like that: NEMA slot cars, slot mods. Those are for people who, honestly, and
Rich
I'm being
people.
honest, they have a lot of money and no time and no sense. Because what we do here is for the home racer, meaning that the guy that wants to get a slot car track and doesn't want to dump $8,000 in a slot car, or one slot car that much, and run it on a track only to destroy it or bang it up. Those places to me are unrealistic. I'm being honest. They're just really expensive. We're not here for that. We're here for just the home racer, which is the simplistic stuff and the not expensive stuff.
I would
That's
venture to say nobody in the chat here today could afford Nemus's cars or slot mods racetracks,
nope.
right.
and that's why
Yeah,
we build them ourselves.
it's just slot cars are not. We are we are a smaller hobby, and we have been for decades, and we're going to continue to be a smaller hobby than, let's say, other hobbies. But um, we have our own niche. We have our own, uh, the core enthusiast. Everybody has a an enthusiast level. I'm. I mean, there's people that see birds in the yard, and then there's people that watch them. Right? That's the difference.
Yeah,
Some people are just really enthusiasts about. Some people are excited about plants and trees and everything else. I want to sit under the shade tree. I really don't care what it is. So every hobby has a different level of interest and everything. So no matter what it is, enthusiast level. But you'll notice that a lot of these hobbies, these smaller niche hobbies, or a lot of it is DIY. Um,
Nope.
Raul with some of the figures that he does, the little guys, right?
yeah.
The what are they? What are those things? The Warcraft dudes
Warhammer,
or
His,
something?
his,
Warhammer
his
ones.
Warhammer stuff.
Right, right, right. I mean, these guys make these custom little dudes, right? And then they paint them, and then they put them on a game board, and it's all DIY. No one's going to make it for them. So that's that's just the way. You know, that's the way. That's the way it is. Just like this, and like what we've got coming up. You know,
That thing
this
is
day.
freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, and see AMT in the scale anyway, 125th. We have the bodies in the scale. So that's one of the things we're trying to get people to discover is that if you have the track the size we go, that to give the larger scale a try. Because if you really, there is almost nothing you can't have in 125th, 124th. You know,
Right.
yeah.
That's always been the draw to it.
Right, exactly. That's why I got the sim. I can get behind. Yeah, exactly. Some of the computer simulations and stuff like that are just amazing. And remember that some of what's the NASCAR simulators and some of them, you got guys that are out there doing the simulated paint jobs for these cars and selling them and making them for people that aren't graphic artists. See, a hobby within a hobby. See. But yeah, this is a model kit, so you got to buy the model kit, and then you take it and you just do this with it. And this is why we have small hobby things like what Dave used here. The what's the name, Dave?
Oh,
It escapes me.
Gopher graphics for the wire.
Gopher, right?
Yeah, Gopher graphics. That's what you use, right, Dave?
Yeah,
For
yeah, yeah.
what?
For the For the
For the
plug
wire
wire.
for the spark plug wires on your.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Gopher. Yeah, that's who it was.
Right. Let me find. Of course, I'm not prepared. I don't know where the ones I bought are. They're in this massive abyss stuff.
I can't see what you're doing because I don't know why there's such a lag. I'm like way behind on my thing over here.
Oh, no problem.
I'm trying to find
The
where I
Gopher
put.
spark plug wires you ordered. I got some
Where
too. I haven't put it on the car either on mine.
you got a package to show them.
Let me run upstairs. It's in a drawer. Let me get it. Hold on.
I I I don't know where I put mine. I'm sitting here talking about it, and of course I bought some not too long ago, which we shared, Dave, and I don't know where I put them, as usual. So that's nothing new. Um, might be on my pegboard over here. Um, yeah. I got them. Here we go. Gopher Racing. These are plug wires, pre-made plug wires.
Oh, you got them? Here's mine.
Yeah, yeah, pre-made little distributor with the wires.
Coolant hoses,
Look at that.
battery
I
cables.
mean, for like $6, it's well worth it. There we go. Yeah, the abyss of bins under the tables. You're not kidding. Um, there is certainly that abyss underneath there, the fingers, guaranteed. It's embarrassing. I I don't want to peek under the skirt. It's just shameful. Oh man. So, well, I hope everybody had a good time. But I think I'm gonna have to
Yes,
end
sir.
this and get upstairs and make the general a snack so I can sleep upstairs tonight.
I need to do the same thing here pretty quick. Get some lunch going.
Yeah, and I got a slot car order I want to make, so that means I better do what I'm supposed to do. You know.
Yeah, I
Well,
got my
thank
eye on
you.
a car now too. That after watching Slaughter's video yesterday.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Viper.
Yep, I got to have that Viper. I think.
That thing's nice.
which one?
The Viper Revo Slot Viper that Slaughter posted on his video.
Oh,
Pretty.
that's Rebel Slot. Don't get me started. We'll talk about that. That's a great car. Yeah, great time. But, all right, guys.
All
Well,
right. Thank you, everyone.
have a good
Hope
one.
you enjoyed it.
You have
Thanks
a
for
good one,
coming, everybody.
man. Yeah,
I really
super cool.
appreciate it. I hope this is helping people.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to see you guys get on board and keep asking more questions and showing us your chassis
Yes.
and your in progress shots. That's what I
Oh,
love to
yeah.
see.
Yep.
Definitely.
Me too.
See that, too.
Okay, fellas.
All right.
I'll see you
Cool.
guys later. Take care. We'll see you online, guys, and always feel free to contact me anytime.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you,
Yeah.
See you
guys.
guys. Thanks,
All
Dave.
right, man.
All right. Later.